Now, okay. Silence can be exciting, can it? It really can, because it requires us to sit quietly and to think about all kinds of things. So we welcome you all here. We are grateful for our police and fire who protect us in so many ways, and for all of you and your interest, not only in our city, but in surrounding communities as well. And we welcome you to the regular meeting, Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. This meeting is being televised on Zoom, and if we have the possibility, there may be those who wish to speak to us as a result of that. So with that introduction, we will take the roll, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, to be led by Councilmember Carol Moore. Madam. No, right after the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Connors. Councilmember McCary.
Here.
Councilmember Moore. Mayor Pro Tem Horn.
Here.
And Mayor Hatch.
Here.
Please stand if you're able. Join in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carol. On item 4 on the agenda, we have a few presentations and a ceremonial matter to present to you. Item 4.1, it is headed Life-Saving Actions on February 25th, 2024, and it mentions the name of one of our council members, Annie McCary. And here to tell us about something that occurred on February 25th, 2024 is our division leader of our Orange County Fire Authority for our division, Barrick Hunter. And Barrick, if you'll come and share with us why you're here.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. One of the best things that I get to do in my position right now is hand out awards for people that do great things in our community. And I'm actually pleased and honored to be here to do this today. So I'm going to start and talk a little bit about the incident at hand. There's only so much information I can give based on the law. So on February 25th, 1:38, our emergency command center received a report of an emergency medical. When they received that report, the person who called 911 indicated there were bystanders starting to help out, provide first aid. They stayed on the line telling our dispatchers that CPR is in progress, which is important information to be relayed to our firefighters. Upon our arrival, our firefighters got on scene. There were bystanders helping out. They just finished CPR. Our firefighters sprung into action, providing advanced life support to the patient. One of the things that was noted was how the bystanders quickly sprang into action and immediately started providing care to the patient. And when they provided this care, they noticed the patient was not breathing and didn't have a pulse. And one of the bystanders, who is medically trained, did CPR until our firefighters got there. And that bystander I'm talking about is Councilwoman McCrary. One of the things that I want to state today is that it is never too late in life to learn CPR. A lot of people see emergencies every day and they just keep driving. A lot of people see emergencies and they keep walking. But Councilwoman McCrary stayed on scene, provided support, first aid, and life-saving measures on this call. So one of the things that she has done is leading by example, and I want to encourage everybody to get involved. Learn CPR. If you haven't taken your CPR class yet, take it. If you don't know first aid or CPR and you see something, an emergency, get involved. Call 911. Try to assist somebody in their time of need. So I'm going to read the appreciation that we have for you, Councilwoman. This is to acknowledge Councilmember Annie McCrary for the life-saving efforts on February 25th, 2024. Your dedication to the well-being of your community is truly commendable. Your actions serve as an inspiring example of selflessness and public service. Thank you.
Thank you. And before you stay there, before we take her picture with the chief, Annie, share with us what went through your mind and why you reacted the way you did. And
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much for the accommodation. I'm speaking for myself, I don't do stuff with the idea of being accommodated for it. I do it because I have a deep-seated value and a deep-seated commitment to human life. And so whenever there's that opportunity, I know that I'm already prepared. And so on that date, I was in a hurry to go someplace. I was in the Performing Arts Center, and saving a life was the last thing on my mind. But when I saw one of my neighbors, which we are all in Laguna Woods, we were all neighbors. When I saw one of my neighbors on the ground, not able to get up, I knew there was a call for assistance, and I did not hesitate. I walked over, introduced myself, and began to ask him questions about how was he. I gave him my name, and so we just conversed until he started to lose consciousness. And at that point, I recognized that it was more needed to be done than to talk. And as his color started to change and I could not find a pulse, I knew there was something else that needed to be done. And so I have that deep-seated value within me that life is precious and all life is precious. And if there's an opportunity to influence life in any way, whether it's CPR, whether it's a hello, or whether it's a kind word, it's all part of that value. And I'm just honored to be able to have an opportunity to demonstrate my values.
And so let me ask you one question, if I may. You saw this, and when the individual lost consciousness or did whatever happened, did it trigger immediately what you should do?
Absolutely. I am a nurse. I'm a healthcare professional by training for over 40 years. Yeah, over 40 years. Yes, I've been in healthcare all of my life. So I know when it's time to shift gears and get into a life-saving mode.
All right, what advice would the two of you give to me, who has never had CPR training and who haven't done it, but should we take the time now, all of us who are here, to follow a path that you've just indicated?
From my perspective, absolutely. If you don't know CPR, then it's an opportunity to learn CPR. But also, if you know CPR and you just don't know what to do, look around and see if there's anyone else around you that can help.
Okay.
There was another woman who came in to help as well. I don't remember her name because she left, but just the idea someone else could said, I know CPR as well. And so we were able to enlist their help as well. And then there may be another person and someone else to maybe call 911, call the rescue.
Would you have any objection if we took your picture with the chief and the rest of the council members?
Not at all.
Okay. Can we take?
Yeah. Chief, do you know where CPR classes are given?
Yeah, so CPR classes are generally given through the American Red Cross. You can get on their website to see where the closest class is. And if somebody is very motivated and interested, they can spearhead a class through the American Red Cross and set it up, and they will come out and provide training.
I wonder, do we do it in the village? I don't know, Nancy. I would think we would, yeah. Okay, I will not ask for a commitment of the council. Barrick, would you come and stand here and
Sure.
let's all go down.
you want to stand in the middle? Thank you, folks. Alrighty. There you go. Everybody looking this way? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
One thing before we split. Sherry, sorry, you wanted to say something. Now's a good place right here and now. Tell us, what's your thinking?
Go to the
Why
microphone.
don't you do that?
I just want to say that Annie exemplifies the very best of what we talk about all the time at Community Bridge Builders, not to be a bystander, to be an upstander. And when you see something, do what you can and get involved. And I'm so inspired by my friend and very proud of her. So congratulations, Annie.
Item number 4.2, American Red Cross Month, March 2024. I believe that we have a proclamation on that, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Proclamation, City of Laguna Woods, American Red Cross Month, March 2024. Whereas caring for one another is at the heart of our community and exemplified by the residents of Laguna Woods, whose simple acts of kindness through the American Red Cross provide help and hope in the most difficult moments. And whereas the City of Laguna Woods supports continuing the life-saving legacy of Clara Barton, who founded the American Red Cross more than 140 years ago to prevent and alleviate human suffering. And whereas every day, ordinary individuals lend a helping hand to make an extraordinary difference for neighbors in need, whether it's providing emergency shelter, food and comfort for families displaced by fires and or disasters, or donating life-saving blood for cancer patients, for accident victims, for people with sickle cell disease, as well as other life-threatening conditions. And whereas the American Red Cross also supports military members and veterans, along with their families and caregivers, through the unique challenges of service, using vital skills such as first aid and CPR to help others survive medical emergencies. And whereas the American Red Cross also delivers international humanitarian aid and helps reconnect loved ones separated by crisis around the world. And whereas during March, we celebrate the humanitarian spirit of the American Red Cross and reaffirm our commitment to help ensure no one faces a crisis alone. Now therefore be it resolved that the Laguna Woods City Council does hereby proclaim March 2024 as American Red Cross Month in the City of Laguna Woods, and supports the humanitarian mission and accomplishments of the American Red Cross in our city as well as the nation and around the world. Dated this 20th day of March, 2024.
Thank you. We will approve all of these at the conclusion of all three presentations. Is there any council member that would like to speak to this particular one?
Just a moment ago, Chief Hunter pointed out that the American Red Cross provides CPR classes. And of course, the American Red Cross also conducts blood drives. And about a year ago, several of us went to a Red Cross Heroes luncheon, and we went because they were honoring Dr. John Chang, who died at Geneva Presbyterian Church, saving his colleagues. And one of the people honored there was a 95-year-old woman who still donates blood 4 or 5 times a year. And I used to do that, and I thought to myself, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And so I began donating blood again, and I've donated 3 times lately. And I just got a little note yesterday that said my blood from in late February has been sent off to UC Irvine up in Orange. So I'm sure it's going to a good cause. And just as you're never too old to learn CPR, apparently you're never too old to donate blood. So I encourage you to do that. They have a regular donation center just off Ridge Route, and they have blood drives throughout this area, including one at St. Nicholas Church that I attended. So do that. Be good to your neighbors.
Anyone else on the council?
Can I ask, do we have a speaker from the Red Cross here? Thank
Oh,
you.
yes, certainly.
Thank you. My name is John Waldeck. I'm a board member of the Orange County chapter of the American Red Cross. I'm also the liaison to the city of Laguna Woods, and if you didn't know that, I am here to help any way we can interface with Red Cross and the city. One, we want to thank the city council members for recognizing March as the Red Cross Month with a proclamation. The mission is, as mentioned, is always to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. The first actual proclamation for Red Cross was made by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1943, and we appreciate the continuation of that recognition. Our workforce is made up of 90% volunteers. Volunteers within Laguna Woods roll up their sleeves every day to donate blood. In fact, in the last year, Laguna Woods has donated 108 pints of life-saving blood. That's 324 lives saved. And as you mentioned, and it was great to hear the story earlier, Red Cross also provides a lot of training, and we have those resources available, and we can always get in contact to talk about anything that the city would like to sponsor, or any other members of the Laguna Woods would like to sponsor. I did want to mention, you had mentioned the Heroes event. There is a Heroes Awards event coming up on May 10th. And each year there's a lot of deserving people. You mentioned Dottie, who is she's now 102 years old, providing blood every 56 days, which is the time period between giving blood. But each year we recognize heroes throughout the county, and it'd be great to have people that from your own community that are elected to receive that award. And so we do collect those every year. And if you ever have anyone that you'd like to nominate for a Heroes Award, we're happy to take those nominations as well. But again, thank you very much for the proclamation, and we appreciate everything the city does for American Red Cross.
Cynthia.
Would you be sure that our city clerk has your contact information so we can check on when CPR classes are here in our city?
We'll do it. She does, and we made sure of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And do you have any blood drives scheduled now in South County?
We do, and as mentioned, there is a blood donation center that is close by, and it's open all the time.
All the time?
Laguna Hills, yes.
But I know our church has an annual or semi-annual one, and
Right, and we hold blood drives throughout the community in different places, and people host those blood drives, but there are also blood donation centers. There's one in Santa Ana, there's one in Laguna
so
Hills.
those
a
are
couple other places.
walk-in.
They are, and they're available all the time to book. And there's a blood donor app that you can download onto phones and make those schedule those appointments.
Good. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
John.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Did you want your picture taken, John? That would be great. Well, go, come on up, kid. All right, get. I was going to approve all of them at the end.
I moved the proclamation.
All right. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. John, why don't you come on up?
I'm gonna do a picture.
All right, council.
Thank you so much for taking the time for your organization, all the work you do. Oh, I see that. He's got two jackets. Kind of censored. What do you want? Proclamation? Oh, it's underneath. Just a minute, I can read you. I can read you. I can read you. Without tipping the water over even. How about that?
Okay, everybody here? I'm gonna zoom in a bit. Everybody this way. Sorry, too much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I missed one. Don't tell them I said that. I was like, what?
Rachel Mashburn, where are you, Rachel?
Hi.
Come on up here. Rachel represents, and what a wonderful name your organization has, given what we've been talking about today. Rachel represents the City of Hope and is here. Do you need some help with that?
Can you hear me okay?
The mic is yours.
There we go. Is that good? Okay. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Rachel Mashburn. I'm the Director of Pharmacy for City of Hope, Orange County. And I'm here to share a little bit about our new campus in Irvine that opened in August of last year, or 2022 actually. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the history of City of Hope. We were founded in 1913 in the Duarte Desert outside of Los Angeles by volunteers. In 1946, we turned to making cancer our sole focus. And today, City of Hope is one of the largest oncology or cancer health systems in the world. And we're undergoing some significant change. One of those was to bring hope to Orange County, or City of Hope to Orange County. And so I'm going to share a little bit about that today. But I'd first like to share a little bit about one of our grateful patients, Donna. Donna turned her cancer diagnosis into a new outlook on life. She's now one of our biggest advocates and launched an Instagram page called Cancer Fashionista, where she's fighting cancer one outfit at a time. It's pretty cute. Donna is just one of the 3.2 million reasons why we came to Orange County. Next slide, please. And as you can see, we now have national reach. So prior to Orange County, City of Hope was just based out of Los Angeles and Duarte. Now in Orange County, and as you can see, we've expanded we acquired Cancer Treatment Centers of America. So we now have hospitals in Atlanta, Chicago, and Phoenix. And all of them are now City of Hope. So City of Hope Chicago, City of Hope Atlanta, City of Hope Phoenix. We also operate TGen, which is a biomedical research institute in Phoenix, and we founded Access Hope, which is offering access to an oncology expertise through employers. Next slide, please. So technology pioneered at City of Hope impacts more than 100 million lives worldwide. 4 of the world's most widely used breakthrough cancer drugs include Herceptin, Erbitux, Rituxan, and Avastin. And these are based on technologies that were pioneered at City of Hope. And then we also help treat diabetes and do a lot of research in diabetes. And City of Hope, we developed through research synthetic human insulin. So you might know that diabetes is commonly treated with insulin, and that research was conducted at City of Hope as well. Next slide, please. And we divide our focus into 4 main areas. Number 1, bringing cancer care closer to home through our extensive clinical network. So what these are physician practices in the communities. In this area, we have a site in Newport Beach near Fashion Island, Irvine off of Sand Canyon, We have a site in Huntington Beach and 2 sites in Long Beach. That kind of makes up the coastal region. But there's an additional, probably 20 plus clinical network sites throughout the Los Angeles, San Gabriel Valley that brings oncology expertise closer to home. Number 2, partnering with our philanthropists to fuel our innovation. Even before we had a presence in Orange County, we ranked among the top 10 institutions by giving. Number 3, we have a large research engine that develops new treatments and technologies years before they become standard of care. And lastly, biotech. We produce many of our treatments on site, which speeds their development from the bench to the bedside at record speed. And all of this we brought to Orange County. And I'd like to invite you to watch a short video from one of our physicians.
We are the first light after a cancer diagnosis.
The illuminated entry point to life-saving cancer therapies and novel treatments often sought by the rest of the world.
We are a dedicated team of more than 400 physicians
and 1,000 scientists and researchers.
We are cancer-focused, but human-centric.
We are thousands of breakthrough discoveries.
We are where cancer stops
and life keeps on getting lived.
The future of cancer treatment is here.
Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so we have expanded access for Medi-Cal patients as well, which is really important for our community. So with the California Cancer Care Equity Act, which was signed into law in 2022, this requires Medi-Cal managed care plans, which cover many California's most vulnerable people, to provide access to NCI-designated cancer centers, which is City of Hope. One of which is City of Hope. Additionally, a new contract between City of Hope and CalOptima Health, which is an Orange County Medi-Cal plan, will bring that expanded access to our local community. So the changes greatly impact about 1/4 of Orange County residents, which is approximately 900,000 people who rely on CalOptima Health for their medical coverage. So they will be able to access care at City of Hope, Orange County. Next slide, please. So why Orange County? Orange County answers the call to thousands of patients. And prior to the Orange County campus opening, about 25% of the patients in Duarte were traveling from Orange County. So as you can imagine, I don't know if you've driven out there, but it's about an hour and a half drive one way, give or take traffic. It could be even longer. So by having this campus in Orange County, we were able to service all those patients that live in Orange County. And so we answered that call, and so we opened, next slide, in August of 22, the Lennar Foundation Cancer Center. This is a picture of the entrance. A little bit about the building. It's about, 4 football fields. I knew there was a reference. So it's very large. It's about 200,000 square feet. I would love to invite any one of you to come for a tour. I'd be happy to host you. It's 4 floors. We have radiation oncology in the building, radiology in the building, so MRIs, CT scanners, mammograms. We have a very large infusion center, which has about over 50 infusion bays that overlooks Saddleback Mountain, so it's really beautiful up there. We have our research, so we have a clinical research unit where we are able to hold phase 1 through 3 clinical trials. And then we have a surgery center as well. So we have 3 ORs, 2 procedure rooms, and an interventional radiology suite. So please, if anyone would like to see it, I'd be happy to have you. Next slide. And if you have driven close by, so we're over kind of near the Spectrum off of Barranca and Alton, I think are kind of our closest big cross streets. We are very quickly building our brand new cancer hospital, and it is supposed to open next November. We're so excited. It's fully framed. They're putting the exterior on. It just seems like every day I drive up and something has changed. So it's really incredible. It's going to be 6 stories high, about 75 licensed beds, an ICU, med-surg unit, additional OR for surgeries. And so we're really, really excited to open this and be the only cancer specialty hospital in Orange County, at least for a while. And so that's our hospital. And then next slide. So when you put these two facilities together, they become the centerpiece of our regional network. And that was what I was speaking about. Our network brings all the scientific and research capabilities from City of Hope closer to home. Our patients now have access to more clinical trials that they might have had to drive to Duarte otherwise. And now they have access to over 1,000 physicians and scientists solely focused on cancer. And next slide. So if I were to kind of ask you to leave with three things, number one, if you get a diagnosis, please seek a second opinion. It's always good to just make sure that whoever you saw first, that they're aligned. And City of Hope is happy to be that second opinion. Make sure you're staying on top of your screenings. And as always, build healthy habits, and our team is here to help you through that whole process. And last slide, thank you so much for your time. And if I can answer any questions.
Well, sit down and we'll just come down there with you and we'll ask you all questions. We'll turn the crowd around and we'll all visit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's start over there. Okay. You're going to take more time than she is. All right. All right. Annie, what do you think?
Well, thank you so much for this presentation, very informative presentation. I made a couple of notes, and one of them, you mentioned Cal Optima. Now, in terms of City of Hope, so Cal Optima, I'm not sure if that's an HMO or a PPO.
It's a Medi-Cal managed care plan.
Okay.
So HMO, Medi-Cal HMO plan.
So Medi-Cal HMO. So any of our listening public who has like a Medicare HMO plan would be eligible to?
Correct, Medi-Cal, correct.
Medi-Cal. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Sure.
Sharon.
I was at your groundbreaking a couple of years ago, and it was a great party, but the model was so little. It's very exciting. I'm so glad this has come to Orange County. Thank you so much, and I would love a tour when it's time.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I'll reach out to somebody and help coordinate that. I'd be happy to host.
Thank you.
Cynthia.
When I was looking for a place for retirement living, I wanted a place with good weather, a nearby airport, and good health care nearby. And I am so glad you've brought this aspect of specialty cancer care to our neighborhood. We're very fortunate, and I'm real glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Carol.
Thank you for your presentation. I did attend your opening, and I did bring a proclamation from our city. We very much appreciate the program that you're offering. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Sure, thank you so much.
You know, because I'm who I am and I screw things up and I do things that mayors are not supposed to do, I'm going to ask our city manager and our attorney if they have any questions or comments they'd like to make about this. How about them? Are you okay? This was fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for allowing me to
speak. How long have you been with the organization?
It'll be 3 years next month.
You enjoying it?
I love it. I love what I do, and it really brings purpose to a daily job. So I feel honestly grateful to do it.
Good. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right. All right. We did not approve the 4.1.
There's no vote required on 4.1 or 4.3.
It's not required. All right. We have enjoyed these few moments together, and we have learned a lot, haven't we? Thank you, Annie. Appreciate it. Public comments on non-agenda items. These are things that you're going to share with us, your thoughts that have nothing to do with the agenda. We have, you know, I think of all the cities in Orange County that I'd like to live next to, not to be in, but Laguna Hills is one of those cities. They're a fun city. We know a lot of people there, and we have a gentleman here from the city of Laguna Hills, Mr. Jeff Halloran. He represents the Chamber of Commerce. Come up, Jeff, and tell us what's on your mind. You had a couple of thoughts that might involve us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and City Council and staff. So my name is Jeff Halloran, and I'm Membership Director for the Laguna Hills Chamber of Commerce. And before I go into that spiel, I'd like to take a moment because I personally know Councilmember McCary. And I must say, I'm not surprised. I know her as a healer, both physically and spiritually, and this is who she is. And I'm just privileged that I was here for that recognition. Thank you. So as member of the board of directors for the chamber, I'm excited to begin a reach out to the businesses of Laguna Woods. My great-grandfather was a founder of the Chamber of Commerce for Salt Lake City, Utah. And I personally have a passion of the value of what a Chamber of Commerce can do. It's a struggle being a business owner, and it requires a certain sense of bravery and having a community of other businesses that you can reach out to for advice, to strengthen your network, to be able to say, maybe I can't help you, but I know a guy. A Chamber of Commerce does that. It provides a network of support, of learning that you can reach out to, and we strengthen each other, and we strengthen the communities that we support. And one of my favorite sayings, if you have something to say, keep it short. If you have nothing to say, make it shorter. So to that end, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anyone want a question of John?
Jeff.
Carol, do you?
Okay. I very much appreciate, I realized that I had heard that there was an effort to join together. And what kinds of things do you foresee the positive side of this? I'm sure there could be some advantages for our community because they have no organization at this time. Go ahead.
So, great question, and thank you. So one of the core things that a chamber does is it provides networking opportunities business to business. So it allows us to be able to refer each other. You know, for me as a financial professional and providing retirement, investment advice, what I don't do is legal work, estate work. But through the chamber, I'm able to introduce people who may have that need, only know me. I know a guy. The other thing that we do as a chamber, beyond the ribbon cuttings that we will do for businesses, and they don't have to be a new business. If they've done a remodel or any other excuse we can think of, we'll put together a little party. Is providing opportunities for our members to reach the community. And probably the foundation event that we host is the auto show, the car show that we hold here at the ruins of the mall. And that's going to be in June. And all of our members get a discount. And how it runs is it's an auto show. We invite classic cars. We have bands. But all of our members get a booth at that. So we drive the community through the car show. But as they're going through and looking at the cars, they also get an opportunity to be introduced to all our businesses who are members. So these are the other kind of events that we sponsor and partner with. And to the extent the city of Laguna Woods would have a similar event, we'd love to participate. We participate in Laguna Hills Heritage Day. And again, providing an opportunity for our businesses to have a booth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you won't mind if we talk to you more?
I look forward to it.
All right,
It'd
thank
be a
you, John.
privilege.
Carol. I'm sorry, no, Cynthia.
You were impressed that you were here at the right time to see Annie get recognized. I want to tell you that you're here at the right time because item 8 on our agenda is where we start our own business registration plan for businesses in this city, thanks to the suggestion of Carol Moore. So stick around for 10 minutes.
Oh, I certainly will. Again, as a professional before I went into financial services, I was a miner, hard rock miner. which required me to go in front of the city council many times. It's nice to be in a place where it's warm and fuzzy instead of a lot of arrows being shot at you. Thank you, and I do look forward to this partnership.
All right, thanks, John. Two gentlemen here who've been before us, and we'd like to hear from them. First, Herman Jensen. Who's going to go first? Bill, come up to the mic.
I agree with the warm and fuzzy council we have here. I've been in front of a number of them that shot pretty deadly arrows. I've had one that said, "We don't want you in our town." And I said, "I'm sorry, I'm just going to be here." And but in any event, I'm here for Pharmacy Plus. We want to put a wellness center in Laguna Woods. It would be the first one in Southern California. I think there'd be a lot of press that would see the opening. It will offer, on one side, herbal remedies with herbalists that are college trained, and on the other side would be cannabis, which includes marijuana and hemp. And each and every person walking in would be asked, "Why are you here? What can we do for you?" There will be no sales pitch, and all of our salespeople will go through a 2-week training process and so forth. That being the case, one of the things that's required to apply is to have a location, okay? We have zeroed in on 2 locations, which I believe the city manager has said that they are in too close proximity to sensitive areas. I was out walking them this morning. There's no sensitive areas with what we want within a quarter of a mile. But sometimes what happens is...
Speak up.
Yeah, could you speak into the microphone?
Oh, I'm not...
Thank you.
I usually have a loud voice, so I try to calm it down a little bit. But what I'm saying is the locations that we do see, okay, would have to be, I believe, a variance, and Herman will talk to you about that. But the fact that we are already able to move into a location and open it up as a premium wellness center that doesn't exist. The evolution I see is you folks are of the age as I am, but there used to be something called head shops, okay, and then they evolved to medical marijuana. Then they became marijuana dispensaries where everyone could go. I believe that the wellness center is the next step in the business, the marijuana business, as well as the herbal business. And we're talking about proven remedies for a number of diseases. But again, we don't have a location. Hemard's going to speak to that. The other thing I wanted is the City of Hope lady, she left?
Who left?
City of Hope?
Oh.
Oh, okay.
She's gone.
I was going to say my son was at the City of Hope for over a year, and he was treated like a king. I can't speak any more of that. But in any event, the City of Hope is absolutely the premier medical centers that I've ever seen. I mean, they 24/7, they're on their patients, and they are, at the break of all medicinal. But sometimes they just don't work. The disease is too aggressive for anyone to do anything with. But I think if she was here, I would tell her it was #1.
I think she showed
Okay.
first time.
Okay, I'm going to resign. But again, we just have one problem in getting our wellness center into the City of Hope.
All right, thank you.
Laguna Woods.
Herman Jensen now.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. It's nice to be
Speak
in a
into
positive...
the microphone.
I'm sorry?
Pull up the mic.
Okay, very good.
Higher, there.
This is better. It's better? Yes.
Yeah.
Mayor, City Council, it's good to be at a positive meeting, and congratulations on your recognition. And that reminded me of a CPR session I took probably 45 years ago. I probably need to update that a little bit, and it's very inspiring, so thank you for that. And I'm here just to talk briefly about our real estate situation. We've gone to great length to identify properties here in Laguna Woods, and the city has given us some guidance which parcels would be appropriate. And there is a recent, Sherry, you alerted us to that fact that the Rite Aid is closing down. It's a 16,000 square feet facility, and I inquired, and we can't subdivide it. So it has to be a tenant who takes over 16,000 square feet. And that is simply not a practical or solution for us. And so we are aware, and I have inquired previously about this particular neighboring center, Willow Tree. There are 2 spaces available. One of them is the end unit right below Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. By the way, it changed recently listing agents, so it disappeared from the market for a few days. It's a new listing agent on board. Apparently, they weren't able to lease it out. From what we can tell, it's at a minimum from this location or from the library, 800 feet. So it's well above the 600 feet distance to that particular location at the very end of the adjacent Willow Tree Center. And I was wondering if there is a formal process to apply for a variance on this particular location. And if there is, we would like to receive that guidance or the form to perhaps apply for a variance on that particular location. Other than that, it's really very difficult. The Valencia Center is partially Laguna Hills, so there is a different governing circus around that particular mall. So that's pretty much where we stand at this point, and let's see if we can get some guidance from the city regarding a variance.
Thank you,
I don't believe we have any property that's partially Laguna Hills, do we?
I believe what Mr. Jensen's referring to is the cannabis storefront retailer ordinance prohibits the establishment of retailers in shopping centers that take access from roads that are not within the city of Laguna Woods. So Paseo de Valencia is within the city of Laguna Hills, making that Paseo de Valencia center with Mother's Market not eligible for the establishment of cannabis retailers.
They were defined, correct?
Yeah, I think that he's just mentioning that there's different reasons he can't operate in that center.
We did understand that. I think what I'm trying to clarify is I didn't believe we had properties that were in both cities. It's either in our city or not in our city, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
The Valencia Center is in Laguna Woods, the way I understand it, but it's partially owned by Laguna Hills.
No.
So they have a shared tax revenue or something like that. This is what's my understanding.
No, it has to do with the fact that Paseo de Valencia, which fronts one side of the center, is within the city of Laguna Hills, and the city's cannabis regulations prohibit the establishment of cannabis storefront retailers in centers that don't take access exclusively from Laguna Woods.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, we understand.
This is pretty much it.
Thank you so much for coming. All right.
Thank you.
All right, with that, are there any other comments that wish to be made that have not given me a sign-up sheet? Then we will close the public comments section and move on to the item number 6, the city treasurer's report. I'll turn that over to our city manager, who will introduce our treasurer.
I will just turn it over to Liz Torres, our Administrative Services Director and City Treasurer.
This is item number 6.1 on the agenda.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be doing the presentation for the treasurer's report for as of the month end February 29th. Total assets totaled $13,819,357, which the general fund had 10,284,826, and special revenue funds had just over 3.5 million. Cash and investments are broken down by cash and cash equivalents of $873,094. Pulled money investment accounts included LAIF of $804,092 and OSIP of $6,778,000. Cash and investments also included investments in certificates of deposits, which equaled over 5.3 million, which totaled the 13,819,357. During the month of February, we had a transfer of 500,000 from the Orange County investment pool to the checking account for cash flow purposes. And as we were preparing for this presentation, we noted that there was a typographical error in the note in the treasurer's report in note 2 for the OSIP on page 4. We included that there was a transfer of 700,000, but it should be 500,000. The city's trust funds include other post-employment benefit trust account and the pension liability trust account. The other OPEB post-employment benefit trust account had an ending balance of $135,487 with a net gain of $97.09. And the pension liability trust had an initial contribution of $163,555 made in February, with a net gain of $1,259.21, with a total ending balance of $164,814. Staff's recommendation for City Council is to receive and file the City Treasurer's report for the month of February 2024, with the amount withdrawn from the OSIP account corrected in Note 2 on page 4 to read 500,000.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Before we take a motion on that, Catherine, you have a comment you would like to make first? Thank you.
Okay. I like your report. It's very thorough. But it seems to me that
Could you speak into the microphone?
it seems to me that what night you might want to consider also putting down is the revenue and basically the warrant register as to how much was spent in the month. Those are two items which are really current, and they give an indication of the cash flow based on revenue versus expenditures in that month. It's real helpful to have all the reserves and everything highlighted, and I think that's really important. But I think it's a matter of putting the warrant register out. You don't have to put the whole register, the total, and what the sum was.
In other words, something like this for the including the
Or
register.
you could put it right on the same sheet.
Yeah, okay.
Well, but the warrant register is in the consent calendar.
Yeah.
So it is in there.
Well, yeah, but it's not highlighted. The benefit of this is it's highlighted so people don't have to study the warrant register.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of this, is to
The only reason I'm pointing it out is the warrant register is a list of items. That is key items. The warrant register is all those. So to put it up there is kind of hard.
No, I didn't say that.
You need to review it if you.
No, I didn't say that. What I said is the total of the warrant register, the total expenditures at the bottom. You got a total, your warrant register?
Total your warrant register.
The total of the warrant register.
Okay.
The total of the warrant register, and what was the income for the month.
Because of the 500.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're not, yeah.
And that's just a suggestion. I think
Okay.
it would be helpful for somebody, because when I look at financials, those are some of the key things that you always look at.
The only problem I have with that at certain points, you have a key number, like you pay whatever, you kind of have, to me, you would have to explain it, because if you jump from your warrant register is 1 million, the next time it's 3, then somebody would say, well, wow, look at that, what happened there, when in effect you had a large number. So you're going to have to
I mean, I
Address
think
that
there's a
too.
way to, I understand the comment. I don't think it's a bad idea. I would say that in most months, you would see that the city's expenditures are greater than its revenue because we don't receive revenue in even installments month to month.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any problem with us highlighting that. Or, I mean, Liz and I can talk about a way to, you know, pull, like you said, the bottom line numbers into the report.
All I'm suggesting
yeah.
is it gives you a fuller picture. I mean, this is great what she's presenting, you know, but that basically is what she's doing is a lot of the balance sheet stuff, and what's missing then is what's the working capital, basically the operating statement, which is receipts and total expenditures.
Yeah.
I see that. I think, though, the one thing you pointed out is our revenue doesn't come like every month in a balanced form. And so would it be clear to people because of what we're talking
Off
about?
the top of my head, and this isn't on the agenda, so we should probably move on, but where my mind goes, and Liz and I can talk about this, is we do produce a quarterly budget report that does revenue versus expenditures at that point in the year and highlights why revenue in some cases lags behind
Right.
expenditures. So we can probably look at a way to, at least on a quarterly basis with that report that's already generated, provide that information as well. So, but I get what you're saying, yeah.
All right. Anything? Sherry?
I just want to say thanks to Liz for the extra work that it takes to put this together. We appreciate it, and we can all sleep well at night knowing that you oversee our financials. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we will, if we could get a motion on the recommendation on the screen.
So moved.
Second.
Have we moved in second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. I would like to personally commend and thank the staff of this city and our city manager and our city attorney. They do outstanding work, and they're dedicated, and it is a pleasure to work with them. So Elizabeth, thank you very much for continued outstanding work. We do appreciate it. And tell everybody up on the second floor that we love them and we appreciate everything they're doing. That's the first thing you'll tell them when you get up there after this meeting, right?
Okay, I will.
Okay, that's from all of us.
Thank you.
All right. Now the consent calendar, which consists of items which are considered routine, and they will be approved jointly as one group unless there is a member of the council that would like to pull one of them for individual consideration. Anyone in the council wish to pull one?
I'll move the consent calendar.
On the consent calendar, yeah. I'll introduce-
second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, unanimous. Now we move into public hearings. Turn the time over on item 8.1, businesses titled of Laguna Woods Municipal Code, to the city manager.
All right, thank you very much. As was mentioned just a few moments ago, we have been working at the staff level to draft the business registration ordinance that the City Council requested from us in September. In the course of doing that, we had the occasion to take a deeper dive into Title VI of the Municipal Code, which is the businesses section of the code where that business registration ordinance would be housed. And in the process, we identified a variety of modifications that we'd like to make in advance of potentially codifying any business registration ordinance. In particular, today's proposed ordinance would repeal 6 chapters of Title VI of the Municipal Code and amend 2 other sections. Most of the language that we're talking about removing from the Municipal Code was language that was carried over from the County of Orange when the city incorporated. So as is the case with many, if not all cities, when they initially incorporate, they typically pull over the corresponding county's code of ordinances to serve as an interim municipal code of sorts. Over the years following incorporation, cities modify and change that code. We have done that. Obviously, we do that quite a bit. But Title VI has a lot of what I would term legacy language from the County of Orange in it that for a variety of reasons that we'll talk about today, we're recommending that the council take steps to remove. That business registration ordinance that we were asked to prepare, we anticipate bringing that back no later than May 15th at your regular meeting. We may actually be able to bring it at your April regular meeting, but in either case, no later than May 15th. That'll be back before you. The modifications that we are proposing today, we think would help to clarify and enhance ease of use of the municipal code. There is a table in your agenda report that takes each proposed modification and provides a specific rationale for it. I'm not going to go through each one of those today, but in broad categories, the language that we're proposing to delete or repeal from the code is either unnecessary, duplicative of state law, duplicative of other portions of the city's municipal code, and or in potential conflict with other portions of the municipal code. I'm going to give you a couple of examples that I think are kind of representative of the types of changes that we're talking about. There are a number of definitions in the business's title that appear only in the definition section, but then are not subsequently used in the code. So for instance, there is a definition that was carried over from the County of Orange for a commercial hog ranch. There is no subsequent reference to commercial hog ranch. It just appears in a list of definitions. We're proposing to strike several definitions that are like that, where there is no corresponding use for them. There are also regulations related to mobile X-ray unit operators and security systems and security officers that are seeking to regulate industries that are already regulated by the state of California. So rather than create our own duplicative level of regulation, we're proposing to remove those from the municipal code. There are also regulations that suggest that the city would do something that it probably wouldn't do. An example of that is there's language that suggests that there would be circumstances under which the city would allow private taxi cab operators to establish taxi cab stands on our public streets, including markings on the roadway. For a variety of reasons, that isn't likely to ever happen, not the least of which is we don't allow parking on city streets. But also, I don't think there's a desire amongst any of the council members to create on-street taxi cab stands. And so we're proposing to remove language like that. And then finally, there is some language that we believe conflicts with state law. An example of that is there's a section called solicitation and sales on and near highways. That reference to highways refers to public streets. The language in that section conflicts with Senate Bill 946, which was the state law that we talked about semi-recently regarding sidewalk vending. So that's not every change that is proposed in here, but those are just to give you kind of a flavor of what we're talking about. We have a public hearing today, an opportunity for public testimony. After that public hearing, I'm happy to respond to any questions. And then staff's recommendation today is to approve the introduction and first reading of an ordinance read by title with further reading waived, titled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Laguna Woods, California, amending sections 6.02.010 and 6.04.010, and repealing chapters 6.06, 6.08, 6.10, 6.14, 6.16, and 6.18 of Title VI Businesses of the Laguna Woods Municipal Code pertaining to regulations, licensing requirements, and other provisions applicable to businesses operating in Laguna Woods, and determining and certifying that the ordinance is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. With that, I will turn it back over to the mayor for the public hearing.
Thank you. We received the staff report. The public hearing is now open. I'll receive any comments from the public regarding this proposal. And we have, Catherine.
All I want to do is compliment you on taking this step. I think it's the right move. I'm glad you've taken and are dealing and getting into the details of it. It's important for the city to have that kind of regulation, that kind of, ordinance. And I appreciate the work that you're doing, Chris, because that's a lot of hard work, a lot of details there. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Anyone from the council wish to
And we'll just, for the record, the public hearing is closed.
All right, that's right. I considered myself a member of the public at one time, and I keep falling back into that mode. What have you got for us, Ed?
I just want to point out that this is one of the first steps of a multi-step process. This is kind of the low-hanging fruit and correcting obvious inconsistencies and eliminating obvious unnecessary parts. And one of the things that our city manager is very good at is refining our ordinances down so they cover what they need to cover and they don't cover other things, and we don't have things in here that are in conflict with state law or that are duplicative of state law. And so I expect we will see this back again. But in the meantime, I think it's an excellent start.
I'll move the ordinance.
I second.
I think you have
I'm
comments
gonna-
over here.
Did you have no comment? You did? Okay, I'm sorry.
This is part of what the city does. We have a couple of people that I have ignored every
Push the button, sorry.
What is the purpose of the city? And we kind of take it for granted. We come in here and we do certain things. We gave the treasurer's report. We understand where the money's going, but the purpose of the city, in fact, the purpose of government in general, and of course it's stated very clearly in We the People of the United States in order to form a more perfect union. And I'm bringing this up because I've had people ask, well, what does the city do? Why do we need the city? We have a HOA, so what do we need the city for? And they're misunderstand what the role of the city is and what the role of the HOA is. The HOA obviously is a business arrangement. It's a business arrangement among all the people who live within that area. This hit me particularly because I heard on the news, it's just astounding, but a city, in fact, it's our capital city, Sacramento, decided they had some homeless people, and they decided that they would not deal with it. They would just lease them some land. Now, in We the People, it states very clearly, we're going to provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare. So these people had no electricity, they had no running water, and of course they're going to have sewage, but they just foisted it off on those people and then stated, well, this might be a model for things we might do. And you have to think to yourself, how in the world did they wind up becoming city officials and not understanding government, what government's role is? Our role, as we sit here, once a month we come in fact, other times too, with other parts of our duties, but our duty is to make sure that we do provide your general welfare, and that general welfare and your common defense is sitting right over there. There's one example of it. You expect to be safe and have someone come when you're in trouble, and right there we also had the fire department here earlier. That's part of that experience that you expect and should expect, because it's our duty. Our duty is to make sure that we provide for you. When Chris is going through these, when I'm bringing this up because there was another issue that happened. Last night I was at a lecture, and the lecture was about a historical event that actually occurred right near where the 133 and the 405 intersect. There was in 1850, a group of young men out of control, and they were harassing and endangering the lives of the people who lived down here. At that time, we were all part of Los Angeles. So they contacted Los Angeles, because we were Los Angeles County, and said, hey, we need some help down here. And it's actually in San Juan Capistrano, near the Mission, where this was some events had occurred. And so the sheriff struck out on his horse with a few other men and rode down to find out what they needed to do. And when they arrived here, they were ambushed and killed right there. In fact, I think the city of Irvine is about to present a plaque there. And it could end there, and you say, well, they they were killed and then they caught them and they solved the problem. But remember, in We the People, it says to provide for the common good and establish justice. Justice is not just going out and grabbing somebody and hanging them or shooting them. It's making sure that you've done it with some thought, that you have the right people, and this has been thought through. I'm bringing this up because that little thing that you read in We the People, which really should be hanging right in here on the wall, is so important in our lives, that we the people, we're going to find the people that did this, but we're going to do it in a fair and just way. That's actually not quite what happened. So it becomes another part of that historical event. So we have people who are interested in running for the council. I can't tell you how pleased I am that I look out and see people see the value of the city. The city supplies things for your safety that come from the state. That's part of our duty. Our duty also is to provide for your common defense, your general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty. That's part of our job. And when Chris is going through this, having these statements of what our ordinances are in an order that we all understand and we support helps us finalize and set in motion the rights and guarantee them for our citizens. So I have to say that in Southern California, it may not be happening in Sacramento because they since turned their back on what they did and realized what they did was wrong because it was a failure. But it was going to fail from the start because what do we know? We know that we have to have organization, and you cannot just turn things over to people and tell them to just take care of themselves. That's why we have the government. We all agreed we would do that. It's a compact with all of us. So at any rate, I'm very pleased to have set in motion that we're enumerating these things and they're in a clear order and that people understand what does the city do, what does the county do, the state and the federal government. Provides a service for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Just a brief thought. What we have witnessed here, in my opinion, and I'm saying this to John because we don't want you to consider any recommending of raiding or anything like that from any of our city people, okay, for Laguna Hills. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think the thing that impresses me about the staff of this city, primarily led by Chris, is that not only can he see a big picture of all of the major issues, but he is aware, constantly aware of each of the integral parts of this thing that makes the whole baby work, that can be improved upon or can be addressed, eliminated if part and so forth. And most of us have been on the city, except for Annie, for some period of time. Danny was a very fast learner. That brings with it a sense of confidence, a sense of peace, a sense of direction, that things are in good hands, and that we really, it develops what I think we've had here over the years, a collegiality, if you will, among the council members and the staff. And so I express my appreciation and echo all that you've said. We will now have
You had a motion and a second, so
motion.
you do.
All right. We will now vote.
Yes.
All right, all in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? As unanimous, we now go to item 9, City Council business. And this is the annual audit services. Chris and I have talked about it, and either he can do it or I can do it. We probably should hear from Cynthia and Annie about this since you served on the committee. So Cynthia Connors, what would you like to share with us?
I will start. The firm that we are proposing is Clifton
Larson Allen.
Clifton Larson Allen. And what I will say about them is that, first of all, they put in a lot of effort onto their bid. because they produced this glossy thing, and you would think a proposal for being a city auditor would be pretty dry, but they've got colors and graphs and all kinds of charts, and I thought they did everything they could to dress it up. But and so it was a good presentation. During the interview, we were convinced that they were an excellent choice, partly because they are a big firm with lots of experience. They've got 130 locations and 4,200 clients, including a large number of clients here in Southern California. Their office is right here in Irvine, so they will be able to be here during portions of the audit. And from the way I look at it, if you're an auditor and you want to see if something sneaky is going on, you're better at it if you can sit there and look people in the eye than if all you're doing is reviewing digital records. The supervising signing director, Tiffany, has worked here with the city before for a different firm that we had back in the teens. And they spoke at some length about how they would make it easy for our staff in transitioning from our prior auditor to the new firm. And one of the things was they would not make us reframe our bookkeeping and our record keeping and our presentation of data to fit into some template that they use, but they would use the data the way we create the data. And the principal, Bob Callanan, spoke of a time when he personally went to see a city that was having some trouble getting their data together, and he sat with them, and he's, a big guy in the company, and he went there and he worked with them and sat with them until they got their act together, and he, guided them along. And so I think the level of expertise and the level of service that they will provide us it'll be good for us.
All right, I'm not going to, don't worry. Cynthia is very good at directing me, and without her direction, I would be up here floundering more than I flounder now. Yes, Annie?
It's just difficult for me to stop being the mayor.
I know that. One more finger point, you're sitting over there, and Annie's sitting here. You don't understand that. All right, Annie, your first time at this, what do you think?
Well, I thought it was a good interview process. My sense was that this organization really wanted our business, and so I was kind of watching how they approached letting us know that they really wanted our business, while at the same time answering the questions that we put before them. One of the biggest takeaways that I got from them, knowing that this is a high-stress job and it's a high rate of turnover, my takeaway was that they are very family-oriented. And so they talked about their retention practices and providing a family-oriented atmosphere for their people, like having a wellness program, having a gym, having support for families. So they talked about how the practices that they had in place to retain staff. And so that was really, really good for me. Also got the feeling that they really wanted our business, and we asked them tough questions, and there was no floundering when we asked the questions. They were able to answer the question, in my opinion, from a solid data point of view. So they weren't just saying, well, you're nice and fluffy. They were actually giving us examples. And one of the things that I think one of us asked is, when they reviewed the data that we had actually sent them, did they see any red flags? And so they said basically no, they didn't see any red flags. And we asked, what would your process be were you to find a red flag during the auditing process or any time? And the fact that they said that they wouldn't wait till the very end of the process to say, aha, you didn't do this. They would pull together the staff and say, this is a red flag here, this is what we're noticing, and we want some additional information. So I really had a good feel for this group, and I think they're a good auditing firm.
Annie, before, after the remaining council members say anything they'd like, would you like to make a motion approving this appointment?
Yes.
Would you do
And
that?
I'll just,
Not yet.
for the record, the recommendation, and this is the recommendation of both the Council Ad Hoc Committee and staff, is to waive the provisions set forth in Laguna Woods Municipal Code Section 3.06,
All right.
0.080 subsection D, related to a minimum number of competitive bids for an agreement with Clifton Larson Allen LLP for annual audit services. That's simply because of the difference between what the municipal code typically requires of competitive procurement versus the number of proposals that were actually received.
Right.
But I do want to mention that we did conduct a competitive process open to all. And then the second part of the recommendation is to approve an agreement with Clifton Larson Allen LLP for annual audit services and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement, subject to approval as to form by the city attorney.
Thank you. Carol, any comments from you? Sherry,
No comment.
would you like to move this?
So I moved the.
Okay.
A second.
A second, all right. Have a,
I'll take back my second.
all right. Okay. All right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, unanimous. All right, 9 point, where are we? 9.2.
9.2.
Payment management plan, which is a very fascinating little item.
You
No,
know,
it
we
is.
we aim to give you only the most fascinating items. Every 2 years, the city goes through a process of updating its pavement management plan. This is one, because it's a good idea and something that we do actually think is a valuable part of our business practice, but also because it's a requirement in order for the city to remain eligible to receive Measure M2 OC Go funds. That's the city's share of the half-cent countywide sales tax for transportation purposes. The preparation of a pavement management plan is required for those eligibility requirements, and the Orange County Transportation Authority is the agency that establishes the requirements for those plans, including the format and the process that cities are required to undertake to prepare them. Among their requirements is that pavement management plans conform to American Society for Testing and Materials Standard D6433. That is a generally accepted standard practice for road and parking lot pavement condition index surveys. There's a whole host of requirements to prepare these plans, but at the end of the day, OCTA's goal is that cities prepare pavement management plans using the same practices and the same processes so that there is the possibility to aggregate that data and to compare comparative pavement management indexes. The council last undertook this exercise in June of 2022. On June 15th, you adopted a pavement management plan for fiscal years 2022 to 32. The proposed pavement management plan on today's agenda is for fiscal years 2024 to 2034. This year's proposed pavement management plan was prepared by the engineering firm Kimley Horn and Associates. They conducted their field inspections in October of 2023. As we have done for the last several pavement management plans, we have electively prepared a plan that covers a 10-year period rather than the minimum 7-year period required by OCTA. We do that to support our longer-term planning and budgeting efforts. There is a pavement condition index assigned to each roadway segment in the city, and then an average pavement condition index assigned to the city's entire public street network. We have a comparison on the screen for you of the last 3 pavement management plan entire network PCI scores. The takeaway from this is that the score has trended upward, however slowly, from 86.17 in 2020 to 87.92 in 2024. There was a typo in the agenda report itself. It referred to it as 88.00, but it is 87.92 for 2024. That is very good. The score is out of 100. The higher the score, the better. We have historically maintained our pavement in very good condition. I do want to point out that these are averages, and so within these, we have segments. The whole city street system is divided into segments. Some of those segments score as high as 100 out of 100. That's the most recent paving project. And the low score for 2024 was a 70. So 70 is fair. Everything above 70 is a portion of El Toro westbound by the intersection of Aliso Creek Road. That's the lowest segment, and I do think part of that was impacted by the construction at the Oso lift station. The pavement management plan, because we do this every 2 years, it does typically result in changes every 2 years to the projects that we propose to undertake in the future, because our goal is always to focus on the areas of greatest need. We do this exercise every 2 years in part because pavement deteriorates and wears different segment to segment. Lots of factors go into it. Traffic on the segments, water intrusion, weather, all sorts of things that we have very little ultimate control over. And so, as has been the case in the past, we are anticipating that if the council approves this pavement management plan today, there would be changes in both the current fiscal year's budget and then in the next 2-year budget cycle. In the current fiscal year, or in the current 2-year budget cycle, we have already completed the project for the current fiscal year for 23-24, so there would be no change there. But for next year, instead of rehabilitating El Toro Road between Tanager and Calle Corta, we would be rehabilitating westbound El Toro between Calle Corta and the city limits. That's in part to pick up that 70 score PCI. Again, we try to push the projects to where there is the greater need for it. And so based on our current analysis, the greatest need is westbound El Toro between Calle Corta and the city limits. This project was already in our queue, so I think this speaks to, we have some early warning that this project is necessary. In the current already adopted pavement management plan, this project was proposed for 26-27. Because of the differential wear in pavement, we're proposing to advance that to 24-25. In doing so, compared to the project that was previously planned, we would need an additional $68,205 to complete this project. We have sufficient money in the Senate Bill 1 Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Program Fund to support that additional expenditure. And it's important to view that, I think, in the context of what happens in the next 2-year budget cycle, because those projects are also proposed to change. The over-under on it is the project that we had scheduled for 25-26. We now think we can delay 1 year. That's the rehabilitation of northbound Moulton Parkway between the city limits and Calle Cortez. That would now take place in 26-27, and we would advance a project that was several years down the line in the previous plan to rehabilitate eastbound Santa Maria Avenue between Santa Victoria and Moulton Parkway. We would move that up to the 25-26 fiscal year. That's essentially all of eastbound Santa Maria within the city's jurisdiction, with the exception of obviously the chunk in the middle that is within the city of Laguna Hills. We would anticipate approaching the city of Laguna Hills as we get into planning for this project to see if there was an interest in them repaving the middle portion and achieving some economies of scale by doubling up on a contract, but that would ultimately be up to them. These changes in the next 2-year budget cycle reduce our anticipated expenditure of funds over that period of time by just under $154,000. So even though with these changes, next fiscal year's project would increase by roughly $68,000, over the course of the 2 fiscal years that follow that, it would drop by $154,000. This is really moving projects and money around, again, to focus on greatest need. We end up spending comparable amounts just at different times and in different areas trying to tackle the greatest need. And again, we don't anticipate there being any funding shortfall or insufficient funds for this work. If the council takes the recommended action today, we would do a couple of things at the staff level. We would incorporate this pavement management plan into the next regularly scheduled update of the capital improvement program, which will likely be before you in May or June. And then we would also process some budget adjustments for your consideration of approval that would, among other things, increase the cost or increase the budget for next fiscal year. And then when we get into the following 2-year budget, you would see that instead of what we were planning to spend, it would be $154,000 less. Our recommendation today is to adopt a resolution titled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Laguna Woods, California, concerning the status and update of the pavement management plan for the Measure M2 program, and adopting a pavement management plan for fiscal years 2024-25 through 2023-34. With that, there's an opportunity for public comments, and then I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any public wish to speak? All right. Start over here with Angie. Any thoughts, comments, or questions you have?
Well, I'll just echo something that Carol had mentioned earlier about the extent of the work that staff do to present these programs. And I really do appreciate that. I also appreciate driving on a nice road with all the bumps and the potholes and stuff. So the fact that we're looking at these projects and doing preventative sort of maintenance versus waiting until something happens. So I appreciate the information and the research. Thank you.
Sure.
And I appreciate that every year it gets better and better. And I also like driving on good roads. It's really obvious when we leave the city and you know when you're home again. So thank you for all you do.
Carol.
It's surprising to me that right near us, I just came just before I came to this meeting, and it was in the city to the, I guess I would call the north of us, and the road isn't well maintained. It's very noticeable as you're driving along, and you head yourself back to our area. I appreciate that the roads are maintained. I also wanted to point out that the trees are looking good, aren't they, in the median?
Yes.
And I think that one last tree looks questionable, that old, the orchid one, what is it, it's not a new one, it was there. Okay, no, those look good, and as well as the carrot wood, what is it? Pardon? Yeah, I kind of question anyway, it's looking good. So we're pleased that our city is well maintained. I think we owe it to our residents. And we want to live in a city where we feel pride. And we live in a city that we maintain and give thought to where we live.
Do you remember when the grand jury came down and told us that that area you just described was a disgrace and was not acceptable? The one we've just completed, the plantings on the trees and so forth. You don't remember that?
I do.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years ago. Cynthia?
Yeah.
If I could just mention, just to give you a response to that, April has let me know that we are replacing the tree you're talking about. It was damaged by some wind and will be replaced.
Thank you, and I did want to point out, I'm glad you said that, thank you. It looked like it suffered from something. With the rains, I lived in an area where it snowed, and it wasn't the snow and the freezing, believe it or not, it was water. When the car drives over the water, you really have a hydraulic action. You're forcing the pressure of the water down into those areas in your street. It does have an effect on the streets, and I would assume that these last 2 rains probably brought some real
water
challenge.
has a terrible effect on pavements.
It is, yeah.
Being able to repave closes those gaps, and there's a big benefit to repaving roads to get rid of the possibility for water intrusion. Once it's in, it's
a toughie. Thank you.
Right. Cynthia?
I'll echo what others have said. I reviewed this agenda early in the week, and then yesterday I was driving in the Irvine Spectrum area around Alton and Barranca and Irvine Center Drive, and I noticed big places, big chunks where the surface was gone probably from the recent rain that we had a few days ago. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that our roads, all roads now, are being used by different kinds of vehicles. We have e-scooters and e-skateboards and e-bikes, and a lot of vehicles with pretty small wheels compared to the wheels of an automobile or a truck. And so if you have a gap of an inch between a concrete bus stop and the asphalt, or between the curb and gutter and the asphalt, a wheel can get in there. Or if you have a pothole or a difference in elevation of just an inch or so and someone comes along and hits it, it makes a difference if it's not an automobile. So I think it's going to be incumbent on all cities to maintain their roads in a better condition, but I'm very glad that we do it. And I thank Chris for his foresight and evaluation and making sure we put our money where it's the most needed.
Would you like to move approval of this?
I move approval of this as read.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Approved. We now move to the Advanced Transportation Management Solution 9.3.
We have a slight transportation theme today. This item, we are seeking your authorization to transition the program that we use to manage the city's intersections from an on-premises platform to an internet-hosted or cloud-based platform. The system that we're talking about today, in the agenda report, there's a variety of information on it, but it's referred to as Centrax. That is the program that manages when lights turn red, yellow, green. It ties in battery backups, emergency vehicle preemption, video detection, really all of the technology that's at our intersections. For many, many years, we have shared a server running the on-premises version of Centrax with the city of Laguna Hills. We have reached a point at the staff level where we're recommending going off on our own and moving our program from that on-premises solution to a cloud-based system referred to as Centrax Mobility. There are a number of benefits that we see with this, but and I've listed some of those on the screen, but I will just say that whenever we receive a complaint or an inquiry from a member of the public or a member of the council regarding our intersection performance, whether that's a shorter than anticipated yellow light or a very quick cycle or a very long cycle, our traffic engineers use this program to see what happened, and if necessary, that's what they use to program it to correct that issue. In the cloud-based version of this software, we will have additional abilities that we do not have currently. We will have access to more information, and we will most notably have access to more information from that platform as opposed to requiring our traffic engineers to send personnel out into the field to pull information from traffic controllers within the traffic control boxes at the intersection. So benefits for us, we think there's a definite benefit to the ability for us to be proactive and responsive to things that are happening in our intersections, but we also have an eye to the future. We talked several months ago about a grant application that we applied for with the city of Laguna Hills related to making some fiber optic type improvements to our traffic signals. A big part of the reason we're looking to make that type of capital investment in our traffic system is, one, to keep pace with technology, but also to recognize that technology is changing and the future likely involves some measure of increasing connected or autonomous vehicles traveling on our roadway. The fiber optic systems that we talked about during that grant application are a piece of that, but equally important to that is having a back-end environment that is able to fully leverage that technology and allow us to operate the system to its fullest potential. So in preparation for that future vehicle-to-everything communication world, we think that this transition fits very squarely in there as setting ourselves up to be able to handle what's coming down the road. In addition, from a cybersecurity perspective, we very much at the staff level like the idea of having greater oversight over our traffic management system. There are definite benefits to having something internet hosted and backed up in a multitude of environments as opposed to having a more conventional on-premises platform. And so while we are deeply appreciative of the time that we have had sharing the server with the city of Laguna Hills, we think that with where the world is today and where the world's going, this change is both necessary and advantageous for the city. It's also pleasantly relatively low cost. This transition we estimate costing about $31,250 in one-time costs, and then a subscription fee that in its first year would be just over $3,300. We have sufficient funds in the city's fuel tax fund unassigned balance to pay for these costs, and ultimately these costs versus the benefit we believe will derive, there's a significant benefit on the city side there. One of the things that we think will also help to manage costs is that ability for our traffic engineers to pull more information from the system as opposed to having to go out into the field. Obviously, not having to send them into the field is going to reduce some of the time that they're spending on troubleshooting or reprogramming issues that we're having. So we do expect there to be some, over a longer period of time, a lessening of traffic engineering costs for the purposes we're currently spending. We are recommending today that you waive competitive bidding requirements to allow for this transition. Ordinarily, there would be some competitive bidding requirements triggered, but because we're looking to move from basically one version of a software package to a different version of the same software package offered by the same vendor, we think the benefit of staying the course and continuing to use the software that we have had success with to date is valuable. And so that is a part of our recommendation, which I'll go ahead and read for you. First part of the recommendation is to adopt a resolution titled "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Laguna Woods, California, amending and adopting the fiscal years 2023-25 budget and work plan for fiscal year 2023-24, commencing July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024, and fiscal year 2024-25 commencing July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025, increasing fuel tax fund appropriations to transition the advanced transportation management solution to a new internet-hosted platform." That first part of the recommendation provides the budget appropriations necessary to make the transition. And then number 2 is to waive the provisions set forth in Laguna Woods Municipal Code Section 3.06.080, subsection C, related to competitive bidding for an agreement with Econolite Systems Incorporated for Centrax mobility services. And then the third is to approve an agreement with Econolite Systems Incorporated for Centrax mobility services and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement subject to approval as to form by the city attorney. With that, there's an opportunity for public comments, and then I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, the public hearing is now open. Catherine? Yes. Catherine Freshley, who's a wild woman driving cars. I've seen her just whip around these streets.
You're right. I think this is, I understand the idea, and I think integrating, the whole lighting system with but it has to be coordinated with the other cities. City of Laguna Woods has 7 lights that are within the city. You got 21 other lights that are either shared with Laguna Hills or Aliso Viejo. And so for 7 lights, I agree, it'd be nice to be able to have total control. But I don't believe that you can actually then have your traffic engineer changing the lights that are shared with another city without the other city being involved and saying, yes, that makes sense, we agree. Now, I'm assuming that has to take place. It'd be the same thing I have in the water district, where you're cooperating. And so that I question then, why do we need a separate server? It seems to me that a better solution is that the city works with the other cities and comes together and says, okay, we know what we want to do. We know where we have to go. I agree with everything that Chris said, that for the future. But is it realistic for us as a city to be isolating ourselves, and then so each city is going to have their own servers, but they're going to have to talk to each other in order to do any coordination. You can't just randomly change the timing on, for example, down at Ridge Route and Moulton. Now, that light there, most of it is controlled by Laguna Hills. Yet, the city is there too, and that's one of the traffic lights for our city. The same is going to be true, you go along Ridge Route right there, at, I forget the name of the street, by the dog park. That's a coordinated light. Many of these lights are coordinated lights, and if you go along El Toro's, the same thing, and the same issue on Valencia. Those are all coordinated things, and it came up earlier today that when the guy talked about having a shop down there in that shopping center where CVS is, that you can't put one there because you're coming off of a street that's a shared street from Laguna Hills. And so I think you need to, I'm suggesting that a little bit more coordination and thinking through. I don't know, Chris, maybe you've had a lot of conversations with them, but I think this has to be a real coordinated activity. I think it's the right thing to do. It's setting the stage for the future, but I think doing it individually is not the right direction. Thank you.
Or you want to wait till it's closed?
Yeah, and keep in mind, just so we get it ordered, because I think are there any other comments? All right, the public hearing is closed now. Carol?
First off, you can coordinate, even if you're on the same server, you can coordinate. So whether you're on a different one, you still can coordinate. But having a different server actually is, I spoke to Chris about the safety, and by going to the cloud, it really does protect us more, because the way the server is now, the cloud is the safest alternative. So that's a very critical part of it. In addition to which, because I also asked if we want to move into the future, and the future would mean a lot of technology, including smart cars and possibly autonomous vehicles, and so we have to make that change. But this will be safer. It will also give us the opportunity for these other advanced programs that you're asking for. And as far as coordinating, we're even though we're on the same server, I don't believe we're not intermingled.
Yeah.
So that is it's maybe you should have asked rather than stated. It might have been more helpful.
Yeah, just to clarify, so we share a server, but they are separate applications. So
Absolutely.
we're not on the City of Laguna Hills iteration of Centrax. We have our part of it, they have their part of it. Every city has a separate traffic management system, and there are no intersections where we control some of the lights and another city controls other lights. An intersection is fully controlled by one city. So if you go on our GIS site, you can see which intersections we control. Even if we have lanes that converge, and I'll use an example of Paseo de Valencia and El Toro.
El Toro, that's a biggie for all of us.
That intersection, obviously, our lanes converge there from three directions. It's Laguna Hills. Laguna Hills controls that intersection. So there isn't, I understand, like, yes, if we were piecemeal controlling certain lights at certain intersections, it would get very chaotic. That doesn't happen here. The other thing that I would say is that we do, on a semi-regular basis, and actually this is part of the grant application with Laguna Hills, we do collaborate on timing studies and attempt to create timing patterns that allow you to run for a longer distance in one direction on green lights than might otherwise be possible, referred to as traffic signal synchronization. It's not always possible. Different cities have different priorities, and then when you run things like freeways through it, it throws a whole nother wrench into it. But we will, for instance, if we get that grant awarded by OCTA, be doing some timing studies looking at whether we can better synchronize our lights along that corridor with the city of Laguna Hills, and we're already talking to Laguna Hills and Aliso Viejo about collaborating on another grant application for the following cycle, which would do a similar thing in a different location with 3 cities. So coordination is very important, but I don't think this has any actual bearing on our coordination. That's more of a programming exercise that, again, to kind of point back to the benefits of this platform, moving to the cloud-based system will give our traffic engineers better data with which to make decisions about how to make signal timing more efficient and more effective for our residents and through traffic.
Thank you. Cynthia.
They've already said everything.
All right.
No, I think this is a great thing to move into the future and go into the cloud, and it keeps the people from having to go out and maintain physical structures. And I think it's the way of the future. I'm glad we're doing it.
Are there any other, say, the Aliso Creek Road and El Toro, that signal there where you turn left or you go down toward Laguna Beach, who controls that particular one? I think you...
Aliso Creek and El Toro is one of our intersections.
That's what I thought, yeah. And all of our people out of, what is it, Gate 9, and go south and turn left. So there are, I think one of the issues that we demand of our city manager, and he does so well, and that is to work congenially and cooperatively with our neighboring cities. And I think we have a good relationship with Aliso Viejo and with their council members, with their managers and so forth. So once again, Catherine, I think we're going to be okay on this as well. There is cooperation, and that's one of the goals, I think, that anybody that sits in this chair is on a one-on-one basis with the various political arms, that we maintain that relationship. Well, then, are we ready to vote?
If I could just, before we vote, just because it came up, I'm happy to show you on our public-facing GIS site. So this is available on our website. And let me zoom in a little bit more so that you can see it a little better. There are blue dots on this map. My cursor is pointing to one right now. They're a little faint on the screen in the room, but those blue intersections identify the signalized intersections that are within the city's control. And then there's another layer on here that allows you to toggle on all of our individual traffic light poles. So you can see at individual intersections, like I'm looking here where my cursor is at the intersection at Home Depot. You can see the blue dot indicating that we control it, but there are also 8 red dots around it with individual light fixtures that we control at that intersection as well. So if anybody's ever curious what we control and what lights are within our purview, the website does have some good information. And if you click on them, you get more information about the individual light pole and what it has on it. So.
Keep it up there. That's El Toro and Moulton.
Yes, this is El Toro and Moulton.
That is a biggie. And I go left turn there because I come into there, and it clicks off. The automatic left turn allows about 4 cars through, and then all of a sudden it starts backing up. I pointed that out to Chris, and he said this is one of the reasons we're having this, is so that we can adjust where necessary.
Well, I think that's a really good example of when you brought that concern to my attention, it then gets passed over to engineering. They will look at it, but they will log into Centrax to do that. So in the future, when they can log into Centrax in the cloud, they will have even better data to be able to respond to your inquiry.
So it works. Okay. Are we ready to vote now?
Do we have a motion in a second? We don't have a motion in a second.
I'll move the resolution.
All right. Seconded, moved and seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item number 9.4 Carol, tell us a little bit about this. You are a delegate on this now. On 9.4, Southern California Association of Governments 2024 General Assembly Delegate and Alternate Delegate we're to appoint. But you're involved in this. You are our voice on that.
I don't know who else is going, but I'm going. I've already.
In other words, do we still need someone besides you being, if I'm...
There's no requirement to have an alternate or really a delegate, but if
Carol
Councilmember
will
Moore is the
represent-
only one who's attending, then you could vote to appoint her as the delegate.
You'll
Yeah.
be there.
I'll alternate if I can't go.
Would you like an alternate then? Okay.
I will go.
All right.
Okay, I move that we appoint Councilmember Moore to serve as the delegate and the alternate for Southern California.
I think that makes sense.
You want to move to another seat after you? Can you handle it alone? Are you going to be there? Obviously, you're going to be there. All right. Would you have an objection to? We will act as an alternate if you get sick or something like that. Shall we do that? All right. All in favor of asking Carol Moore as in a dual capacity as a member and as our not only appointee but alternate. If any of that makes a sense, is there a second?
Is,
Second, all right. All in favor? Aye. Do you understand what happened, Carol? I don't. Okay, now, the city council reports and comments. One thing, I have one comment, and that's that, why don't you move the clock ahead to daylight savings time? Okay. The Coastal Green Bay Authority.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Greenbelt Authority did meet. We met last week, Wednesday, and usually we meet here in the council chamber, but we met at one of the local parks because we were treated to a tour by some of the park rangers. And one of the reasons for the tour is that we're looking at some of the areas that need to be updated in the general development plan. The authority is looking at revising some of the information in the development plan. So we were treated to a tour of 6 of the major areas that we're going to be looking at with the development plan. And some of these areas I wasn't familiar with, a lot of them I wasn't familiar with. But we met at the Nix Nature Center, which is down on Laguna Canyon Road in Laguna Beach. And we got into vehicles with the Orange County Parks Department, and they took us to these sites. And we started with the Ridge Park Gate 9, which is in the Newport Cove area. And as we were driving through, we were able to see the conditions of a lot of the trails and how the downpour of water has really influenced the trails and how the park rangers are working to get those trails up and running before the real hiking season began. They also shared with us that they had unofficial total of 19 inches of rainfall in the park's areas. So keeping the roads clean for the bikers and the hikers is an ongoing process for them. So after we left the Ridge Park and Gate 9, we went to another trail in the Newport area called Old Boundary, and we toured that area looking at the just the open space. From there, we went to Lizard's Trail. We also toured Overlook, Emerald Canyon, Laguna Canyon Overlook, and then we ended with the Willow staging area, just giving the authority an opportunity to look at some of the open space and some of the areas that we are looking at so that as we make modifications to the development plan, we'll have more additional information. So overall, it was a great tour. It was an exciting tour, and it was really good to see the amount of acreage the Wilderness Park actually covers. And I believe it's 7,000 acres of actual wilderness park that's owned by the Orange County Parks Association. So it was a wonderful opportunity to look at some of those trails. And our next meeting will be in May of next May. And that's the end of my report. Any questions?
Thank you, Andrew. I had parked my car and was walking in front of the headquarters of the fire authority last Saturday, and this two ladies were walking toward me like this, and as we passed, I took my arm and just put it through like this, grabbed her arm, and scared her half to death. And I looked at her, she looked at me, and it was Cynthia Connors.
I was still scared.
And so anyway, I don't remember whether you were coming or going, but I'm going to call upon her to, this was about 10 o'clock, 10:15 in the morning. It was the open house, the annual open house of the Orange County Fire Authority. A marvelous experience. Some of you may have attended, and you can report on that. But Cynthia, what did you think of it?
This is the second time I've gone to this event. I think it's just terrific. It's so much fun. There are really three elements to this. One of them is huge, big, shiny trucks. I don't know how long a ladder truck is, but I think it must be as long as a 40-foot container plus a cab, which would make it about 50 feet long and probably more than 15 feet high. Really big. And all kinds of amazing equipment. And anytime I came to a piece of equipment, there'd be a firefighter standing there, and I'd say, "Is this your truck?" And they'd say, "Yes." And I'd say, "What does it do?" And then they would tell me. One of them was a crash truck from the airport. One of them was a smaller vehicle filled with equipment for fighting brush fires. And, you know, the ladders and how high the ladders reach and all that. So that was part one. Part two was about 5,000 little kids, from toddlers to 5, 7, 8 years old. And they got to do all kinds of things. They had little wooden houses with little wooden flames in the window, and they got to shoot fire hoses at them, and when they hit the flames, it would knock them down. And they got to take a toy, a chainsaw, and practice whacking down things like they were fighting a fire out in the brush. They got to climb into the helicopter, and they got lifted up onto this enormously high piece of earth-moving equipment and got their pictures taken. So the little kids were really, really cute. And then, of course, the third item was all those handsome firefighters. So I'd go back again in a heartbeat.
The experience that I took away was I thought we were, and we are, as a county, are aging. And we're getting older. I don't know what the average age is, but on this particular open house, the average age was about 12, I think. When you think, I've never seen so many fathers carrying their children and they're going around. It was a remarkable experience. And before you die, go to one of them, because the thing that I think, besides the kids and the trucks, the dogs were the remarkable. They had two sessions with the dogs, those who search for people that are buried, and those who search for the living and the dead. So anyway, they put on 2 dog shows, and they were marvelous. And so the publicity man is sending me, I saw him there, and he said he will send us a short clip of when they get it down, and you'll see it there. We have our meeting tomorrow, and we'll see what happens there. The fire chief has recovered from his operation, and we'll be back in business. So thank you all, and I can't tell you how thrilled I was to excite you, and you didn't know what to say when you finally saw it. You were nonplussed, I think. Anyway, all right, young lady, what have you got for us?
Library board.
Do you?
We didn't have a meeting.
Oh, is it the library now? I'm just going, I don't know what I'm doing now. All right, County Library. Carol, what about it?
We have not had a meeting. I hope your people are fully aware how busy our library is, and that's another point I have to point out. If you go over there and you don't see any people, you think, well, there's nothing going on in this library. To show you how busy the library actually is, because it's people coming and going, there are several shelves. If you go over there and you see names on them, those are books that people have ordered in. So they come in, they get their books, and they leave. They don't stay there to read them, but that doesn't mean they aren't using the library. Somebody asked me, there was 3 people in there. Why do they need 3 people in there? And if you don't use the library, sometimes you don't know what goes on there. And so I do want to point out that the library is extremely busy. All those books that you're seeing with the names on are books that are ordered. They are constantly bringing in books and changing them out and so forth. And in fact, I had something interesting happen. Someone recommended a book that this meeting I attended just before here, and it's not in our system. And they have received a grant where I don't recall telling this story. If I did, just listen and pretend you haven't heard it. I think they have a grant, and it was with Amazon, that Amazon sends the book to the person it's sent directly to me. I read the book, put it back in the container, brought it back to the library, and then they wait and see if they have other demands for the book. Otherwise, they can send it back. So, that's quite a...
That's right off the
grant,
press.
I know.
Yeah.
And I had a book that nobody was aware of. I had just been told about it. And I got the book right away, by the way. I went to that meeting, told them immediately, and she said, well, let me put it in the system. And it was sent to my house, and it came a few days later. And it was, anyway, that's the kind of thing that happens. And you do stay up on books that are, if you're a more wider reader, right now I'm reading a book I'm finishing a book on Ella Fitzgerald, which is quite good. And I'm also reading one on, it's by a Japanese author. It's a novel. It's a crime story, but it's written in Japan. So it gives you a little insight into, how crime might be handled in Japan, rather similarly, actually, but it's kind of fun.
They will sometimes have a staff of 3 there, won't they?
Yes.
They're that busy.
Yeah, it's very busy. It's one of the busier in the counties, and I think the problem is that we tend to think, oh, well, it's like so many things. If you don't see somebody, you think, well, nothing's going on. Things are going on. They're actually coming and going, and if you hang around there for a while, you will see it. In fact, we have even had students with tutors over there, meet with their tutors, because we do have computers too, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of things going on.
I think the library, they're very pleased, aren't they?
Oh, I think we're so fortunate.
Yeah, we really are. All right.
Yeah.
Vector control. I want you to give us a report someday where they have exterminated all mosquitoes.
Well, that's coming with the sterile insect technology, but
Right,
it's still
go.
a ways away. We've been onboarding all of our seasonal employees, and at this time of year, they have all the conventions, the mosquito conventions in all different parts of the country. And those are very interesting, too. I've been to those before, and they're a lot of fun and very informative. At this time of year, too, because there's usually a lower mosquito abundance, they do all the schools. There's like 636 schools in Orange County, and so they go to each one, making sure there's no critters that have crawled under the building or no red ants and with their hills that they make, and any kind of fleas, if there's any kind of rodents or feral cats, they treat for fleas. There's a big typhus problem in North County. Not a big one, but I mean, there's some typhus up there. So even though it's not peak season right now with all the rains, everyone really should go out in their backyard and make sure they dump and drain any water that's accumulated. Okay.
Here in the village, we have a lot of big pots, like wherever the birds of paradise grow.
Yes.
And they are in saucers. And many of them are in common areas, aside from people's patios. And they're like impossible to tip.
To turn over.
Can Vector recommend to us any kind of a wicking device where you can lay something in the water and it kind of absorbs it and drops it out over the side where it goes onto the concrete or the grass? Can you ask them about that?
I will be happy to ask them about that. But right now, they could put mosquito dunks in there, this kind of stuff you can get at Home Depot that you can put in there that will dissolve slowly and kill any incipient mosquitoes. It's not pesticide. I think they're made out of corn cobs, but it keeps mosquitoes from laying eggs. And they've done a pretty good job with the drip irrigation in some of those plants so that it doesn't build up in the bottom, except when we have rains like this. But a drain, I will ask Vector about.
But, more of a siphon or a wick. Thanks.
I will ask. Okay.
When do they start breeding again? Or when does the new crop
When the
come?
heat, when it starts getting hotter
Okay.
than most of the mosquito. But, now it's almost always mosquito season, but it heats up when the heat comes.
All right.
So, but go around your manors and empty all those little saucers and anything that's out there because you don't want to provide breeding places for mosquitoes. They've done a lot of work lately with green pools and old fountains and converted them into planters for people so that they won't be running fountains or that there won't be just dead, stagnant water sitting there. So, but this is a good time to be thinking about it. So,
Okay, thank you.
and I'm glad that we have the library. It's like our 25th year, it's our 25th anniversary birthday this year, and that's like a big birthday present to ourselves, so, and to the city. So it's nice. Thank you.
All right. What's happening out there?
Toll roads. I'm pleased to report that the bond rating agency Fitch has upgraded the toll roads bonds from BBB plus to A minus for the senior bonds and from BBB to BBB plus on the junior bonds. And in each of them, they have also issued a positive outlook, and that means that they expect to do a further upgrade in the future. And this comes, and it means that as our bonds mature, when we refinance them, we issue new bonds to pay off the old bonds, that we can get a more favorable interest rate.
What are they? Do you know what they pay now under the existing bonds?
I think it's around 4%.
About. It's not bad. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
And this positive outlook comes from the board's and the successful management. We have strong revenue from the toll roads. Our ridership is increasing, and we have used a lot of, instead of accumulating extra cash, we are using it to pay down the bonds when we can. The next item that they're working on is what's called interoperability. And most of you probably know that if you have a toll road sticker on your car, you can drive on the toll lanes on the 91 or the 110, and the new toll lanes that are coming in on Interstate 5, and even up to the Golden Gate Bridge, anywhere in California. Both the state government and the federal government had mandated nationwide interoperability, where any place you drive on a toll road, it reads your toll pass and it just charges the toll back to your own account right here with the toll roads. But the state law, oddly enough, says, well, within the state you can share all the information you want with the other agencies, but we're concerned about sharing personal information out of state. So you can share the car license number, and you can share the VIN number, and you can share the driver's name, but you can't share the location or the amount of the toll. So far we haven't gotten too far on interoperability, and there's just a lot of concerns about privacy and sharing of personal information, and it's just going to take us a while to work through that. And then I want to talk for a minute about the conservation efforts of the transportation corridor agencies. For We have wildlife fencing along Highway 241, which is pretty tall, and it has jump outs so that in case animals get into the road, there's a place where they can go down, but it's too high for any of the animals to leap up to get onto the road. And this fencing, people come from a lot of other roads to look at us and see how we've done it. And since it's been in, it has reduced collisions with coyotes, bobcats, and deer by 100%. And there are some lesser animals that occasionally get bonked, but it's been very, very effective. There are dozens of undercrossings, which are well used. When they were first built, they had water features there to encourage the animals to come to that place, so they got used to using them. We also have what are known as mitigation sites. And for every square foot of concrete or asphalt that the toll roads lays down, they have to take another place in Orange County and work to get rid of invasive weeds and erosion and other invasive species and return it back to its original habitat. And we actually have to establish an endowment for that for perpetual maintenance according to state law. And TCA will have a booth at the Village Earth Day event on April 18 in Clubhouse 5, so come and see it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say the toll roads got a shout out on our tour at Coastal Greenbelt. They said what a good job you guys did as opposed to Caltrans. And they just wanted.
Go on the walking tour?
I did. I gave it to Mary,
Yeah.
but she wasn't able to.
Okay.
All right, watershed management.
We did not have a meeting, but I did want to point out for the Coastal Greenbelt, if you were to look over there at Barbara Lake, you would see that it's probably twice it's certainly grown. And in fact, it's up to the fence, and it looked to me like it came under the fence. I don't know if it undermined the fence north of Third Mutual, which would be gate 11. No, pardon me, that's not true. It actually isn't gate 11, it's gate
inside
10.
gate 10,
Because it's
yeah.
it's on further down where Barbara Lake is, and it is so much larger. My gosh, it's wonderful.
That's good.
So the underground, I think the water table is definitely up. You might be hearing about it. I think it does affect gate 11. So,
Well, the Aliso Creek in the park was flowing very, very rapidly a week ago. So
Yes.
because of yesterday, we were actually seeing white water come down there,
Wow.
which is interesting. Okay, we have the bridge builders, Councilmember McCary and Horn.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to report on for the bridge builders. Chris has a clip. We did the one song where there were 300 people with all their ethnic native country clothing on, and Channel 7 was there to cover it, Channel 6 was there, and each group there was Hindi, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, and other languages, German also. And they were all shot separately, so we won't see it until it's made into one. In April, Channel 6 says they'll have it ready. But it was a huge success. Everybody had such a good time doing it and made so many new friends. Actually, Chris has a clip here from Channel 7. Go ahead.
1 second. Sorry, we're going to have to turn up the volume.
In 2 years, it's a man In 2 years, it's a man shooting inside.
Technical difficulties.
There were 3 days of rehearsals and the filming, and the director was the head of the Urban Institute, Liav Sofer, and he was fantastic. He was able to get everybody's voices together, and the altos, sopranos, basses, and tenors, and it was just, It was just an amazing event. I can't say enough about it. So if it's ready, go ahead and play it. This isn't the whole song, but.
No, we're having.
I would say, considering the lack of professional skill among the 300 singers, he molded them into a pretty good choir.
Right. In our band, too, everyone was a member of the village. All the musicians, all the performers. The songwriter flew his family in from New Jersey and performed the song, and his wife was there and kids. And of course, they were all professional at Channel 6, you know, Paul Ortiz and his
Church
staff.
in Laguna Woods, a shooting investigators believe was a hate crime.
For one tight-knit community, that terrible day became the driving force to create something positive. Orange County reporter David Gonzalez shows us how.
It suddenly feels like angels are singing and peace is possible.
300 strangers living in Laguna Woods Village, a community for people 55 and older, have come together to spread a simple message: love your neighbor.
And it's all one family. This is our family, this is our home, this is our neighborhood. And that's what's so magic about it. It's magic.
Community Bridge Builders was born after a tragedy rocked their city.
Those things that you cannot say just in words, when you put music, it changes everything.
In May 2022, a gunman walked into Geneva Presbyterian Church and opened fire on Taiwanese parishioners, killing one and injuring 5 others. Authorities say the attack was fueled by hate.
Out of that hatred, this group of people in the community got together to learn how to speak up, what to do when that happens, and to stop being bystanders.
Today, the choir is singing a tune titled One Song and speaks to the power of being united as one voice.
I was inspired by the older songs, but We Are the World and Imagine were kind of the 2 songs that inspired me and the feeling that they give.
The song is also sang in different languages, including Spanish and Korean.
And music's an international language, so we can say this in 10 different languages, play the notes for 10 different languages, it comes out the same.
The group believes the song's simple message connects people in their community who may otherwise not have an opportunity to come together.
They're having fun and they're coming back. It's not just a joyful thing. They're having fun while they're doing this. It's a blessing to everyone in the community.
Community Bridge Builders hopes their choir inspires others to translate their message of unity into their communities, one song at a time.
So just like Annie is not a bystander, Rebecca is not a bystander either. And I'm very pleased to say that during this Women's Month, she won the Woman of Distinction Award from Senator Min and will be given this award on the 25th of this month. And I know a lot of us will be there to watch her accept it. So we're very excited by the work the Community Bridge Builders has done, and it's a really very heartwarming and important for me to be part of it. And I'm really glad that the council made a liaison to this group. It's an important thing for the village. Thank you. Annie, do you have anything?
No, you said it all. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for a very wonderful way to end this meeting. Thank you. Any other comments or reports, anything? Sheriff Captain, thank you for being with us. We love having you here. We really do. Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Anything you want to wish us a happy new year or something, will you? You love this city, don't you? Well, we love you. Thank you.
do, yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we have no closed session. And so we will now adjourn this meeting, and thank you for staying with us. And the meeting is adjourned.